I think this is one of the best features that's on all of your Apple devices. With Focus on your iPhone, iPad, or Mac, you can set up multiple modes that allows what apps to send you notifications at what time, who can contact you on the weekends. You can change the function of your action button depending on focus mode, design different home screens for the evening, weekend, or when you travel, and third-party apps can take advantage of focus filters, which allows even more customization. So in this video, I'm going to explain what focus modes are, what they can do, how you can activate them manually or automatically by time or even opening an app, some special Apple Intelligence and other focus modes like driving and sleep, and how you can even do things like change the function of your action button depending on the active focus. Now, I'll be starting from scratch explaining every detail, but if you're already familiar with focus modes, I'll have chapters here and in the description, and you can jump to more advanced use cases like focus filters and my shortcuts. So first off, what are focus modes and where can you find them? They actually live in the Settings app. This can be on your iPhone, iPad, and they're also on your Mac. Scroll down and you'll see the option for Focus. Tap here, and you might see some ready-made focus modes, and you can create new ones by tapping the plus icon here. Focus is great if you want to mute notifications from certain apps like Slack and Outlook in the evenings or on the weekends, and you can even customize the people who can contact you in focus modes and hide their conversations in the Messages app. I'll show you that in a second. Here in the settings, you'll see the pre-made foci here and the Share Across Devices toggle. I highly recommend toggling this on. This means when you enable a focus mode on your iPhone or other Apple device, all your Apple devices will enter that mode at the same time. I'll explain more about this when it comes to focus filters and how those sync between your devices. You can also choose whether or not to share the focus status in things like text messages. When you have those toggled on, if someone tries to text you, they'll see this message that you have a focus mode enabled. They don't see the focus mode name or when it will disable. When you try to send them a message, you'll actually have the opportunity to break through that focus mode if you want to notify the recipient anyway. And you can choose which focus modes will show that message in the conversations. Now let's create a focus mode from scratch and we can see all the settings available. Let's tap the plus icon to create a new focus, and you can choose one of these pre-made foci from Apple, but it doesn't really have anything chosen for you. You still have to choose all your apps and people, home screens. So I'm going to delete this focus and let's start to create one from scratch. I'll tap the plus icon, choose custom, and now we can actually name this specifically and even choose a color and icon. Let's call this our day off focus. We'll choose an icon and tap next. This is explaining some of the options available to you. We'll continue, and now we can start customizing this focus. If you have Apple Intelligence available on your iPhone, you can actually toggle on Intelligent Breakthrough and Silencing. This means even if you don't have notifications enabled for an app or person, Apple Intelligence will try to predict if that's an important message and send you a notification anyway. I've been enabling this for my various focus modes, but you can experiment with it on and off. The next option is notifications from people and/or apps. If you go to Choose People, you can decide whether you want to allow notifications from a group or silence notifications from specific people. So if you want to silence and choose all your work contacts, you can do that here. Or if you want to be more limiting, you can just choose the people who can send you notifications, and you can add more by tapping the plus icon here. Typically, I like to choose allow notifications from and just choose the people who I want to be able to contact me. You can also go further and allow calls either from all of your favorites, only your contacts, or just the people you chose in the previous step. Again, I like to just limit it to those people I chose, and I'll tap done. Next, we can choose specific apps, and no matter how we have them set in the notification settings, we can decide whether or not they send notifications in this focus. Now, because this is a day off focus, maybe I'll remove Slack, ChatGPT, and Mail, and I'll just get notifications from text messages, podcasts, and my grocery app. You can add more apps here, but again, I would try to limit these as much as possible, and you'll still be able to see notifications from the apps you've hidden, even while in a focus mode if you really want to, and I'll get to that in a second. Let's tap done, and now we have our people and apps chosen. If we go down to the options here, and here we have even more customizations. Even while in a focus, you can choose to show notifications on the lock screen. I typically keep that off, and I also hide notification badges in the focus. You can even choose to keep notifications silenced always, or just keep your phone silent when locked. So if you're using your phone, even with a focus enabled, calls and texts can come through. I typically like keeping it on always. This way I really limit who can contact me. Let's take a second and see what these options look like for the notification displays. You'll see dim lock screen if that's enabled. If If you lock your phone and tap the screen or lift it up, it won't show you the wallpaper, but you'll still see your time and any widgets you have here. That's nice to use for sleep focus mode, but if I toggle dim lock screen off, now you'll see the wallpaper on the lock screen. And if you enable show on lock screen, notifications from the people or apps that you've enabled, you'll see those on your lock screen right here, but you can also choose to disable that, and now those notifications will be hidden on your lock screen. Now notifications from people or apps you've enabled, you can still swipe down from like the home screen or in other apps, and you'll see your notification center here. Now if we scroll down, the next option here is really powerful. You can choose a custom lock, home screen, and even Apple Watch face that will activate during this focus. I can tap choose here for the lock screen, and you'll see all the lock screens that I've created. You'll also see if a lock screen is already assigned to a focus by these icons. This is already my evening wallpaper, my filming, sleep, and weekend. I'm going to choose a lock screen that's not already assigned, and we'll go with this one. I'll tap done, and now separately, we can choose a home screen to be attached to this focus. I'm going to choose this home screen where I have some custom app icons as well. If you want to learn more about setting up custom home screens and lock screens, I had an entire video on that. I'll link it above and down in the description. I'll also choose a watch face here, maybe something subtle like this solar analog, and tap done. Now when this focus mode activates, it will change to this lock, home screen, and Apple Watch face. Next, you can set a schedule for this focus. Smart activation, you can try this. I typically leave this off just because I like knowing when focus is enabled or disabled, but you can try to smart enable like when you have meetings or calendar events and see if it will automatically enable and it be convenient. I prefer to add a schedule. And when you tap add schedule, you can choose a location, a time, or even when an app is opened. So here you can add a work location, and maybe when you get there, your work focus enables that hides your personal notifications, but enables things like Slack and Outlook. You can choose time, and here you can choose what days of the week, like I have a focus that just enables on the weekends and one in the evenings, and then you can choose the time which this focus enables and disables. For an evening style focus, you might choose 8 p.m. as the start time, and then choose an AM time, like 7 a.m., and this focus will be enabled all through the night. You can even enable focuses based on app. So if you have a work app that when you open it, you want a focus mode to automatically turn on, you can choose an app here. And the final step of setting up a focus, this is where it gets really, really powerful. You can add what's called focus filters. This also includes third-party apps that enable focus filters. But some of the built-in options you have, at the very bottom, if you have an iPhone with an always-on display, you can choose whether or not that always-on display is enabled or disabled during this focus. You can choose whether or not dark mode or light mode is enabled. You can even choose to go into low power mode, so you can create a low power focus that changes your home screen and lock screen to let you know your battery's almost out. You can also choose whether or not silent mode is enabled. And you can see the previews here on the little cards to tell you what's currently set. Now we'll go into some third-party focus filters in a moment, but here you can do things like in messages, only show conversations from the people that you added to this focus. This is really powerful. If you're like me, even if you're trying to ignore work texts and messages, but you see it in that conversation list, it makes me want to try and go do something for work. Well, here you can even hide those conversations and then you won't even see it until the focus mode deactivates. That's a focus filter I like to enable. Also, if you use the stock mail app, and there's some third-party focus filters like from Outlook, here you can actually choose what mail accounts will be enabled during the focus. I'm going to choose just my Fastmail account, which is my personal email. I'll go into more detail in the third-party focus filters chapter, but you can also choose what calendars are active during a focus, and even what Safari tab group or profile is active during that focus mode. Let's say we're done setting up this focus, and let's go back. Now we'll see that day off focus right up here in our list. Now you can activate a focus in several ways. You can ask the voice assistant to just say, turn day off on, or you can swipe down to the control center, and by default, there's a focus menu right here, and you can enable or disable however you'd like. You can also choose to enable a focus on any of your Apple devices if you have them syncing. So here you'll see my filming focus is on my Mac, but I can click that, and you'll already see my day off focus is available on my Mac. If I enable it here, it will enable on my iPhone as well. Same with my iPad. Now let's see what happens when I activate it. Here's my Apple Watch because that face should change, and we'll see my home screen and lock screen change as well. I'll tap here in the control center. Let's go to day off, and now you'll see my home screen and lock screen changed automatically. So did my watch face when the focus mode activated, and if I swipe down, you'll see the new lock screen. And you'll also see on my Mac, even though I activated it on my iPhone, the status is syncing here as well. Now, if we go back to Control Center and tap into Focus, you can also choose to set certain foci to last for a certain amount of time. If I tap the 3 dots next to my filming focus, I can choose to enable it for 1 hour, enable it until this evening, or even enable it until I leave the current location, like your workplace. I'll tap 1 hour here, and now it went back to my filming focus, and now my filming focus will be enabled for the next hour. It even tells me this focus will be active until 1:15. And we're back to my different home screen and lock screen that's attached to the focus. Now that we have a focus enabled, let's go to our text messages, and here you'll see that some conversations are hidden, namely from the people that you didn't include in the focus mode. You'll also see this message at the top of the messages screen saying that your conversations are being filtered, and if you want to see all your conversations quickly, you can just tap Turn Off, and when you tap Turn Off, it will show you conversations from everyone, and you can quickly turn it back on to hide them. But if you're sensitive to seeing those work texts while you're off, I would avoid tapping that Turn Off button. Likewise, if we go to the Mail app, you'll remember that we filtered our focus to just have one account. Well, you'll see the same message here that it's being filtered by focus, and if you want to turn that off to see all your emails, you can do that too. You can also swipe over, and next to any of the accounts that you've had hidden in this focus, you'll see this little moon icon. That means you're not seeing email from that account when this focus mode is enabled. By the way, whatever icon you chose for this focus, you'll see it displayed here in the status bar of your iPhone, and you'll also see it here on your Apple Watch. All right, let's talk about some special focus modes that are built into the iPhone. Here in this list, there are 3 foci that come standard. One is Do Not Disturb, which basically turns off everything. I treat this Do Not Disturb as kind of a I can't get any notifications from anyone kind of thing. Now, I've still enabled some key people here, but I don't really change anything else. It's just a way to quickly turn off all notifications when I need. Now, this stock Do Not Disturb focus, you actually can't delete. So take some time and maybe customize this how you'd like, because you can't really remove it. Another special focus is the Sleep focus. This is one that you would actually set up in the Health app. If we go to the Health app, go over to the Browse tab here, and then scroll down and choose Sleep. Here you can actually set a sleep schedule, the time you plan to go to bed and the time you choose to wake up. And this is actually going to sync to the clock app and your alarm, and will also sync with this focus. For instance, if I go to the clock app now, you'll see my sleep wake up time is right here at the top under my alarms. Now you can change the sleep schedule just for the day, or you can adjust the schedule ongoing. You'll also see a quick link here where you can adjust the sleep schedule in Health, and there's some additional options like wind down. Wind down means things like the screen will dim and your phone will tell you that it's getting close to bedtime. You can disable that if you want. You can also have your sleep goal here and reminders about that wind down and sleep time. I like customizing the sleep focus because I still want certain people to be able to contact me, and I adjust my lock, home screen, and Apple Watch face to be a nice dark and dim visual appearance. And you'll see that this section is a little different because it's controlled by the Clock and Health app. If you want, you can choose to delete the sleep focus, but I particularly like this one. Another special focus is driving. This is made to be enabled when you connect to CarPlay, or you can also choose to enable when you connect to your car via Bluetooth if you don't have CarPlay. This one is special because you have the option to auto reply when this focus is enabled. So you can choose people here, and then when you go to auto reply, you can choose to reply to everyone, just people in your favorites, or just reply to recent contacts, people you've texted recently. And you can even choose the message that gets sent automatically. This is a powerful feature. I wish this auto reply could be a feature across all foci, but it's specifically here in the driving focus. Here you can choose a custom lock screen and Apple Watch face. They don't even let you choose a home screen because they don't want you looking at your phone while you're driving. And this one is actually set to turn on automatically, and you'll see while driving. Now you can choose to manual enable this so it doesn't turn on automatically, or when connected to car Bluetooth. And now your phone will detect if the Bluetooth device it's connected to is a car, and driving mode will activate automatically. You can also activate with CarPlay when you toggle this on here. And one other special focus, this is for Apple Intelligence iPhone 15 Pro or 16 models. The Reduce Interruptions is not only a toggle in every other focus mode, but you can choose just this Reduce Interruptions focus, still customize the people and apps, but this will just try to reduce the amount of notifications you're getting while this focus is enabled. Now let's talk about focus filters just a little more. I'm going to go to my filming focus. I use this one pretty often. If I go down to focus filters and add filter, you'll see there's some third-party options here as well. Even things like 1Password, which will choose the default account when you're in a focus. Spark and Outlook email apps, you can choose what accounts are active during which focus. Even Drafts has multiple options for focus. And there's great options from Timery and Streaks. Now, the one focus filter I use pretty much in every mode is Fantastical. And Fantastical is incredibly powerful because they've actually tied their focus filter to calendar sets. Now, I did an entire video on Fantastical. I'll link it above and down in the description. But when it comes to calendar sets, here in Fantastical, you can go to Settings and then group certain calendars, either your work calendars or personal calendars, and then create different sets. I have a main calendar set, which kind of has everything, but not like US holidays or birthdays. Work mode, which is just my work events. My weekend calendar set, which is just my personal and shared calendars with my wife and family. And I even set up this video one as an example. And then for each calendar set, I can choose exactly which calendars appear. This is really nice because any work invitations, like for meetings next week, if you don't want to see those on the weekend, you can hide your work calendars in a calendar set and you won't see those invitations until Monday. And then here in the focus filter setting, I can choose something like my weekend calendar set, add it, and then I will only see those events during this focus. Now, the one unfortunate thing about focus filters is this does not sync between your devices. All this information, like the apps, the people, the schedule, that will all sync to your Mac and iPad. But focus filters are different per device. For instance, here on my Mac, I'll go to System Settings, and then I can go down to Focus, and you'll see all the focus modes I set up on my iPhone are here on my Mac. I can also toggle on or off share across devices, and whether or not I want to share my focus status in things like text messages. If I go to Day Off, the focus mode we recently created, you'll see focus filters have not synced over. This makes sense because you might have different mail accounts set up on your Mac than your iPhone, even different contacts. But honestly, if you have the same mail accounts like I do on all your devices, it would be nice if it's synced. But either way, if you want to make sure these filters are active across your iPad and Mac, you will have to go to Add Filter. You'll see many third-party apps are available here, and some additional ones. Noir is a great Safari extension for forcing dark mode. But here I can choose my Fantastical. I still have my same calendar sets because Fantastical is installed on this Mac. I can choose Weekend, Add, and now that focus filter will match across my devices. Now let's talk about some fun ways you can activate focus using Shortcuts automation. Obviously, you have the built-in schedule by time and day, and you can do it when an app is opened and by location. One other note about when an app is open. Let's say you're going to do some filming with the Kino app from the makers of Halide. You can choose that app, say this focus mode will activate when that app is open, and this focus will automatically be disabled when that app is closed. Let's test that out. We're in our filming focus right now. Let's search for Kino and open that app, and then you'll see the focus mode just changed here at the top. If I swipe down from the control center, you'll see our day off focus is now enabled, and you get a little notification there by the dynamic island. Now, if I close Kino or swipe to go home, you'll see the focus will actually change again. Now I'm back in the filming focus, the one I had enabled before day off, which is nice. It won't go back to just the no focus status. If it knows you were in a focus before you changed focus, it will go back to that last focus. Does that make sense? Anyway, it's pretty intelligent switching between foci. That's all I mean. So you can schedule it by a time when you open and close an app, but let's look at some ways to automate this with shortcuts. Here in the Shortcuts app, let's go to the Automation tab here at the bottom. I'll tap the plus icon, and you can also choose to automate it via app using shortcuts if you would like. I think it's easier to do it in the focus mode setting, but another way might be when you connect to Wi-Fi. Maybe you want to activate a focus when you connect to your work's Wi-Fi. You can even select multiple Wi-Fi networks if you want this to activate whenever your phone connects to any of those Wi-Fi networks. And you can even set up another automation, so when you disconnect from that Wi-Fi network, the focus turns off. Let's choose to run immediately. We'll tap Next, and Focus makes it easy with one-step shortcuts. All you have to search for is the word focus. You can use Get Current Focus, which we're going to get to in a second when we talk about the action button. But instead, we're going to choose Set Focus, and then we can say Turn. Now we can choose our focus, like our day off focus. Turn the day off focus on until, and then you can even customize this further. And here you could say until a certain time, until you leave a location, or when a current event ends that's on your calendar. I'll choose manually when it turns off. Let's hit done. And now, whenever my iPhone connects to that Wi-Fi network, our day off focus will enable until I manually disable. Another way you can trigger focus to activate, you have your location options, which is built into the focus settings. You can even choose when you get an email or message from a certain recipient, when you connect to a certain Bluetooth device, maybe when you play music, you want a focus to turn on. But an interesting one is the charger. So if I tap charger here, you could say when charger is connected, run immediately, And now a focus can be enabled whenever I put my phone on a charger. Maybe it's going to be in another room, and maybe I want other people to know that notifications are silenced because I'm not around my phone. I'll choose the set focus. Let's choose turn day off on until turned off, and I'll tap done. Then you can choose to create a second automation that says charger when it's disconnected. So when I take my iPhone off the charger, it can disable that focus. So I'll choose the set focus option again. I'll say turn day off and make sure you've chosen the same focus in both of these automations. It's going to turn day off off. Let's hit done. Now let's see if it works. I'm going to plug my iPhone into charge and it should automatically change focus. And there we go. We have a different home screen now. Our day off focus enabled there at the top, and we're charging. Then when I take my phone off the charger, it's going to turn off that focus and go back to my default home and lock screen. And here at the bottom of the automation, you can actually choose that a focus mode being enabled or disabled is its own trigger. So for a quick example, we can say when our day off focus is turning on, we want this shortcut to run immediately. Let's go to next, new blank automation. And maybe we just want an audible notification that this focus is enabled. We'll just make this a one-step shortcut, hit done, and now we should get that audible notification when we enable our day off focus. Let's try it.
Day off focus enabled.
There you go. Now this can be really powerful on something like your iPad, where you can actually choose what apps open and go into split view based on your shortcut actions. If you want a video explaining those iPad actions and how to set up apps in split view, check out my video above and down in the description. All right, and finally, let's set up some shortcuts that will change how our action button functions or how certain apps function when a focus is enabled. So I've actually already set up a shortcut, and I'll put a link to this down in the description so you can just download it and use it however you'd like. This is called Action by Focus, and the first step, it uses the Get Current Focus. That's a built-in action. Then there's an if statement. If the name of the focus is, and then I'm choosing my filming focus, make sure you change this to whatever name your focus may be, and also be sure that next to that if statement that you choose name rather than focus in order for this if statement to work. And here I'll say, show my Apple TV control for my bedroom TV when I'm in my filming focus. Maybe you want to change that to your evening or bedtime. This way it goes directly to that. Then this says, otherwise, play Fantasy by Earth, Wind & Fire. Now let's see if this works. Now in order for this to work, we need to set this shortcut as our action button. So let's go in the Settings app, over to Action button, tap where it says Shortcut, and we'll choose that Action by Focus shortcut. Let's activate the Action button. And there we are, in my Apple TV remote, and it's automatically chosen to control my bedroom TV. And now that I'm not in a focus mode, if I do the action button, it should play Fantasy by Earth, Wind & Fire. I don't want to play it out loud because, YouTube stuff. But here it is playing in the dynamic island. Now you can actually go in and further customize this with more if statements. So to say, if I'm in my filming mode, do this. I can remove the otherwise section and actually duplicate it. I'm going to tap and drag it out of that first statement. And now I'll say if focus, and maybe on our day off when we hit the action button, we want it to play the latest episode of Primary Technology. By the way, that's my tech podcast with Jason Aten. New episodes every Thursday. You can subscribe to the video version here, audio below. I'll expand this. Let's choose the playback order for the newest first. So now if I'm in filming, it opens my Apple TV, but if I'm in my day off focus, it will play Primary Technology. Let's enable that day off focus. Let's hit the action button, and there we go. Primary Technology is now playing, and we can see it here in the dynamic island. And like I mentioned, you can go and create if statements for every focus you have on your phone, and your action button can do something different for every focus. Now, two other cool things. You can actually choose in certain focus, if you want a limited distraction from a certain app, let's say Instagram. I can actually create an automation here, and let's say when app is open, and the app we want is Instagram. Now you can also choose multiple apps, so to have all your social media apps as part of this automation. We want this to run immediately. Hit next, new blank automation. We want to start with the get current focus action. Let's add our if statement, and we'll say if name, be sure to choose name there, is day off. Then we're going to search for one more action, and we're going to get the go to home screen action and put it underneath there. So if you try to open Instagram when your day off focus is enabled, it's just going to shoot you right back to the home screen. But if you're not in that focus, you'll be able to open Instagram. Let's hit done on that. And right now we're in our day off focus, and we have a custom icon here for Instagram. And now if I try to open it, it's just going to go right back home. Try to open it again, right back home. Oh, hey, Eric. Eric Wieslander, by the way. Great smart home channel. I'll put his channel down in the description too. Now, if I disable that focus, and now I'm just in my default no focus mode anything, I can open Instagram, and I'm able to keep it open. It won't shoot me back home. All right, and one last shortcut I'll leave you with. This is one that's often requested on the channel, and this is to auto text someone when you're in a focus mode and they're not in your contacts. What this shortcut does is it will get your focus first. You can choose whatever focus mode you want. Let's say it's our weekend focus. If that is the focus mode that's on right now, it's then going to look at the phone number that just texted you. If that number is not in your contacts, it will automatically send a reply text that you're on vacation or you're away. If that person is in your contacts, then it won't automatically send that reply. Now you can download this shortcut in the video description. I'll put the link down there. But to set this up, all you would have to do is go to the Automations tab, hit the plus icon, go down to Message. For Sender, I'm going to leave that blank. For Message Contains, I'm just going to tap the space bar once. Most messages contain a space, so that should work fine. Run immediately, then New Blank Automation. And all we have to do here is look for the Run Shortcut action. And here we're going to run our auto text, if not contact, and focus. Expand that action, by the way, and here under the input, choose shortcut input, and then be sure to tap shortcut input one more time. And you might need to choose sender. This way it actually gets the phone number of the sender and then uses that in the automation. Now you can have an auto reply text depending on focus and whether or not they're in your contacts. And that is my complete guide on setting up focus on your iPhone, syncing it to your other Apple devices, focus filters, and some shortcuts and automations to use with focus modes. If you'd like to watch one of the shortcuts videos where I go into more in depth about setting that auto text and contact, check out this video right here. And I do lots of shortcuts request videos, which I know I'm due for one soon. I have lots of shortcuts requests, especially from my community, which you can join at create.beard.fm. And there you can request shortcuts and even support the channel there with $5 a month. And you get access to my Shortcuts GPT, which is a special GPT I've trained that can help you create your own shortcuts quickly. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button before you go. And this is another in my series of getting started guides, longer form videos, really trying to walk through step by step. I have a whole video with getting started with iPhone, and I have another getting started with Apple Smart Home. That has my step-by-step guide about setting up the Apple Home app, using a HomePod Mini, and actually creating your smart home from scratch. I'll put that video right up here. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.